Okay, for this project, you're going to need your N or 9mm crochet hook, and you're also going to need a J or 6mm crochet hook. And you're going to need your tapestry needle and pair of scissors, and also whatever buttons that you want to use for the center of your flower. And I'm using the Collection by Lamode crystal. And also whatever color you're doing your infinity scarf, get the same color for the main color of your hat. And then also you're going to need a white trim, and I'm using the Caron Simply Soft white for the trim. Okay, go ahead and get your N or 9mm crochet hook, and we're going to do a magic circle. So what you're going to do is just take your yarn and drape it across your 4 fingers, and you can kind of stabilize it with your thumb, and then you're going to wrap it around your middle fingers twice, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. And then you're going to take your 9mm or N crochet hook, you're going to yarn over, you're going to pull underneath those 2 loops around your middle fingers, and then yarn over, turn your hook upside down and come back through that loop, and that's your knot. And then you're going to go under the 2 loops around your middle fingers, yarn over, and we're going to do our first double crochet. So you're going to go ahead, yarn over, go through both loops, that's your chain 1, yarn over, chain 2, yarn over, chain 3. And that's your first double crochet, and we're going to do 10 double crochet total into the magic circle. So you're going to yarn over, go into the 2 loops, yarn over, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. And you have 2 double crochet on your magic circle. So you go ahead and yarn over, go through the 2 loops, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. And you can see how I'm holding with my fingers. And I have 3 double crochet, yarn over, go through the 2 loops, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. You have 4 double crochet. And then yarn over, go through the loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2, and that's 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and your last one, 10. Okay, so go ahead and take your middle finger and your thumb and just grab it at the base of the 10 double crochet, and then you have these 2 loops on the side. You're going to grab one of them and pull. If it doesn't close your magic circle, then let go and then pull on the other one, and then it'll close your magic circle. Don't pull it too tight. And then take your loose strand of yarn and then pull on that, and it closes your magic circle nicely. Makes it really pretty. And then you're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch to the top of your first double crochet. So you're going to go into that first double crochet, and then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and you're going to pull through both loops on the hook. And you have a very nice circle. Okay, for this next round, we're going to do 2 double crochets into every stitch. So for the first double crochet, you're going to yarn over, chain 1, 2, 3. That's your first double crochet. We're going to go into the same stitch. We're going to do our second double crochet, yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. So you have your first 2 double crochet in that first stitch. In the next stitch, we're going to do another 2 double crochet, yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. And then you're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. So you're going to do 2 double crochet in every stitch all the way back to the beginning, and then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be back to the beginning, and this is how your work should be looking. And we're going to do a slip stitch into that first double crochet. So go ahead and go into that top stitch, and then you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to do a slip stitch. Just pull through both loops on your hook, and now you're just going to chain 1 for your first single chain, and then you're going to do another single chain into the same stitch. So you go into the same stitch, yarn over, and you do a single chain, and you're going to do 2 single chains all the way around. And you can go ahead and take your yarn marker, and I'm just going to cut off a piece here, kind of mark your spot. You should end up with 40 single chains around. So you did your first 2, and see how I just put my yarn marker. You can use a different color too if you need to help mark your spot. And then into the next single chain, you're going to yarn over for 1 single chain, and then in the same stitch, you're going to go in the same stitch and do another single chain. So 2 single chains in every stitch for a total of 40 all the way around back to your yarn marker. So I'll do one more with you. In the next stitch, 1 single chain, same stitch, 1 single chain, and then so you're going to do 2 single chains in every stitch. When you're done, come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be back at your beginning. So you're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into that first stitch that you did. Then yarn over and bring through both loops. And then move your yarn marker up. And now you're going to do 1 single chain in 8 stitches and then 2 single chains. So in the next stitch, you're going to do 1 single chain. Next stitch, 1 single chain. Third stitch, 1 single chain. Fourth stitch, 1 single chain. Fifth stitch, 1 single chain. Sixth stitch, 1. Seventh, 1 single chain. And then in the 8th stitch, you're going to do 2 single chains. 1, 2. So go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around, back to your yarn marker, and then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be done, and this is how your work should be looking. We're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. So yarn over, and then bring through both loops on the hook for your slip stitch. And now we're going to start the pattern for the hat. So we're going to go ahead and do our first double crochet. Go ahead and chain 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to skip 2 stitches. So here you can see you have 1 stitch, 2 stitches, and then we're going to go right into the center of the 3rd stitch. You can see there's a back loop, and then you have a front loop, and we're going to go right into the back loop of that stitch. So you're going to go ahead and yarn over. You're going to skip 2 stitches and go into that 3rd stitch, into the center, and into the back loop only. Yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2, and then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go into that previous skipped stitch, and you're going to go right down the center into the front loop only. And then you're going to yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. And then you have your first crossed double crochet alternating front loop, back loop. First stitch. Now you're going to skip 2 stitches. And we're going to count this as the first. 1, 2, go into that back loop, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. And then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go into that first previous skipped stitch down the center into the front loop only, and then yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. And then you have your second one. And then yarn over, and then this will count here as your first skipped, second skipped, and then go into the 3rd, yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over, and you're going to go into your previous skipped stitch down the center in the front loop only, and then yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And you can see your pattern, your beautiful pattern forming. So go ahead, finish that all the way around, back to the beginning, and then I'll show you how to move on to the next row. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my row, so I'm just going to show you how I complete this round. You go ahead and yarn over, and then your first double crochet, you're going to go over it and go into that skipped stitch after it. So there's a stitch right here. So here's your double crochet, and then this is your first cross stitch. And in between, there's a little stitch right there. You're going to go right into the center of that stitch, into the back loop of that stitch. So here you are. You're going to go ahead and yarn over. You're going to go into the middle of that stitch, into the back loop, just like that. And then you're going to yarn over, bring the yarn under that loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2, and then that's going to create your cross stitch. And then you're going to go into the top of that first double crochet, into that first stitch, and then yarn over, and then you're going to pull through both loops on the hook, and then you create your cross stitch there. Nice and pretty. All right, so now we're going to do the next row. You're going to go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be your first double crochet for the next row. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure how many cross stitches you have around. On mine, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I have 22 cross stitches. If you don't have that exact number, that's okay, as long as you're pretty close to the number that I have. And so what's going to be important is for your next row, you have to make sure that your cross stitches are going to be right above your previous cross stitches on the previous row. So go ahead, and for this first stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to skip this first stitch, this second stitch, and then you're going to go into the back loop of the third stitch, which should be right between your two cross stitches. So you yarn over, and then you're going to go right in the center of that third stitch into the back loop, yarn over. You have 3 loops on your hook. Go ahead and yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, and then you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into that previous skipped stitch into the front loop only, and then you're going to yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And then you have your first cross stitch, and as you can see, it's right above your previous cross stitch. And you either can count your cross stitches, or you can just make sure that you have them right above your previous row cross stitch. So go ahead and yarn over. You're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and go into that third stitch, which is right between the 2 previous cross stitches. Yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, and then you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into that previous skipped stitch into the front loop only, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2. And you can see how I'm doing my cross stitches right above my previous cross stitches, and you're going to do that all the way around back to the beginning, and then come back, and then I'll show you how to get to the next row again. Okay, so your work should look like this, and you just need to make sure, if you weren't checking already, that your stitches were right above your previous stitches on the previous row. Just count them real quick. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and we're going to do our 22nd stitch. So you just want to make sure that your stitches are going right above the previous row and that you're getting the same number of stitches on each row so your hat comes out right. So now what you're going to do is the same thing to join this last row. So again, you have your first double crochet right here and your first cross stitch, and you're going to go into the stitch right between, and you're going to go into the center of that stitch into the back loop only. So you're going to go ahead and yarn over, and you're going to go into that skipped stitch there, and then you're going to go into the back loop only, just like that. And then you're going to yarn over, come through that stitch. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through the last 2. And then you're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet. So you're going to go into that first stitch, and then you're going to yarn over, and then just bring your yarn through both loops on the hook, and you finish that row. So now I'm going to start you off on this third row. Go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to skip 2. So here you have the first stitch, second stitch. You're going to go into that third stitch into the back loop only, and as you can see, you're going to go right above your previous row's stitch, and then the stitch in between is the one you're going to go into the back loop of. So go ahead and yarn over, skip 2 stitches, and go into that third stitch into the center, into the back loop only, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through 2, and then you're going to yarn over and you're going to go into that previous skipped stitch down the center into the front loop only, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And you can see how your cross stitch is right above your previous cross stitch of each row. So go ahead and finish doing the cross stitches all the way around back to the beginning, and you're going to do that for a total of 8 rows. And then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, I'm coming up on the end of the 8th row, so I'm just going to show you how to do the last stitch here again. Go ahead and yarn over, and you're going to go into the stitch in between your first double crochet and cross stitch into the back loop, yarn over, and then you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet. And then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And then you're going to chain 1. And you're going to go into the next stitch. And then loop to have 2 loops on the hook. We're going to change colors. But before we do that, I just want to make sure. So on your hat, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 rows on your hat. And then you're going to take your trim color that you chose. I have a little bit of a knot there, so I'm just going to cut that and remove the knot. And then you take your hook, and you have the 2 loops on your hook still, and you take your new color, and then you're going to hook it. Actually, I'll go this way, hook it, and then bring it through both loops, just like that. And then you're going to do a single chain. So yarn over and do a single chain. And then you're going to take and cut your previous yarn color that you were using. And then you're going to take and tie a knot with your new yarn color and then your previous color. Just tie a knot. And I just tie it 3 times. And then you're going to take and chain 1, yarn over and chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. Actually, we can just keep it this way, and then we're going to take the yarn ends. Since this is our right side, we want to bury our yarn ends on the inside, so I usually just take my tapestry needle and take those yarn ends and put them on the inside of the hat. So just take both of them and put them on the inside of the hat. And you can see how now those yarn ends are on the inside, so you can bury them as you work. So just make sure that those yarn ends go in between your work. So you're going to take your hook and go into that next stitch, and then yarn over, and you're going to do a single chain all the way across, and at the same time you're burying your yarn ends in your work. So in the next stitch, single chain, and the next stitch, single chain. So go ahead and do a single chain all the way around back to the beginning, and then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be back around to the beginning. So now what we're going to do is just do a slip stitch to the first stitch. So you just go into that very first stitch that you did, and then you're going to yarn over and just pull through both loops on the hook, and then you're going to yarn over and then just pull enough yarn to where you can bury it into your work, and then go ahead and cut that. And then just take your tapestry needle and then just take that loose end of yarn onto the tapestry needle, and you're just going to bury it into your work on the inside of your work. So you just go through and just bury it into your work, just like that, and then go ahead and cut it. And now I'm going to show you how to make the flower to go on your hat. Okay, so now we're going to do our beautiful flower, and I'm using the Caron Simply Soft or white yarn, and you're also going to need the button that you're going to put into the center of your flower, and this is the collection by La Mode crystal that I'm going to put in the center. And the tapestry needle won't fit through the back of your button, so you're going to need a regular sewing needle and some white thread to sew it onto your flower. And we're going to use our J hook or 6mm crochet hook, and we're going to do our slip knot first. So how I do that is I just cross over the yarn to make a loop, and then I just put my hook through, and then I hold it with my middle finger and thumb, and then yarn over and just pull through the loop for a slip knot, and you're going to chain 5. So yarn over through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to do a slip knot through the first chain on the hook. So go through the first chain on the hook. It's going to look like this. And then you're going to yarn over and then pull through both loops on the hook, and then it makes a nice circle. And then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to double chain or double crochet into the circle. So you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to double crochet into the circle. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through 2. And you can see how you have your double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2 around. And we're going to do that 3 times. Yarn over, actually chain 2, 1, 2, yarn over, go into the center of the circle, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, and draw through 2 for another double crochet. And then chain 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to double crochet into the center of the circle. And then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch to the top of the last double crochet. And then your work looks like this. Okay, so now in the first circle that you created, the first chain 2 space, you're going to take your hook into that space, yarn over, and you're going to do a single chain, and then you're going to do 5 double crochet into that spot. So yarn over, go into that spot, yarn over, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2, and then yarn over and go through the last 2. That's 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do a single chain, and that's your first petal. So then you're going to do the same thing all the way around in each of your chain 2 spaces that you created. So I'll do one more with you. You're going to single chain into the next chain 2 space, and then you're going to do 5 double crochet, three, 4, 5, and then you can do a single chain in the same spot, and that's your second petal. So go ahead and do that all the way around back to the beginning, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so this is how your work is looking. So now that you've reached the beginning, you're going to do a slip stitch into that first spot that you had on the first petal. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through both loops on the hook, and then you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And then you're going to go behind this loop or petal, and you're going to go into that first single chain on the second petal, and you're going to do a slip stitch. So you're going to yarn over, go through the loop and through the other loop on the hook, and then you've created a chain 5 behind that first petal. And you're going to do that behind every petal. So you're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to take, you can fold your petal down and then go into that single chain, that first single chain on the next petal, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through that loop, and then pull through the loop on the hook. And then you're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fold down the next petal, go into that first single chain on the next petal, yarn over and pull through both, and you're going to do that all the way around your flower, and then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be back to the beginning, and so you're going to go into that first single chain that you did for a slip stitch, yarn over and then go through the loop on your hook and the other loop on your hook for a slip stitch, and then you're going to fold that petal down. In that first chain 5 loop that you created, you're going to do a single chain, and then you're going to do 7 double crochet, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then do a single chain. And you're going to repeat that into the next chain 5 space. So you're going to go into that space, do a single chain, and then you're going to do 7 double crochet, and then another single chain, and you're going to do that all the way around back to the beginning. And then come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so you should be back at the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into that first single chain that we did. So go ahead and yarn over, and you just pull through both loops on your hook, and then you're going to go ahead and finish off. So yarn over and then pull enough yarn to sew onto your hat. So you have your beautiful flower, and now what we're going to do is just sew the little button into the center of your flower. So go ahead and get your yarn and your needle, and then make sure you have your button on the right side of the flower. And then on the back, you're just going to take your needle and then go through the button and the yarn to hold it in place. And then just leave enough of the sewing thread on the other end to tie your knot. And then you're just going to go through and make a couple loops through the yarn and the button. And go as many times as you want to make sure that your button is secure. Just make sure that you're going through your yarn and the button so it holds it in place. It doesn't fall off. And then when you've gone through enough times, you're just going to take and tie a knot. And I like to tie a couple times just to make sure it stays. It doesn't fall off easily. Do it one more time. And then you can just take and just pass the needle through one more time before you cut it. And then just cut it fairly close to the back of your work. And then you have your beautiful flower. And we're going to sew that onto the hat. So you take your hat, and you can see a little bit where you had your seam, and then also where you did your slip stitch here. So I'm going to put this in the back of the hat, like that. And then once you have your hat laid flat, the flower is going to go on the side of the hat. So once you've positioned the flower where you want it, you're just going to take your tapestry needle and make sure you can get the yarn on there the right way. And then you just take and you carefully just sew the flower onto the hat, making sure you don't sew it onto the back of your hat, just the one side. And then you're just going to sew on the outer petal, along the outer petal, all the way around, just like this. So you're going to sew your petals all the way around the flower, and then come back and I'll show you the finished product. And you have your beautiful hat to match your infinity scarf.